All I can say is wow, wow, wow. After listening to those three great speeches, all I can say is wow, wow, wow. You did a fantastic job of expressing really my message here for you today. And I never again want to follow three speakers like that. Let me go first. Because all I can say now is, I want my mommy. Isn't it strange that princes and kings and clowns that caper in sawdust rings and common people like you and me are builders for eternity? Each is given a bag of tools, a shapeless mass, a book of rules, and each must make your life has flown a stumbling block or a stepping stone. One of the greatest tools that we have in the bag that we have is our voice. It is our ability to communicate, to express ideas, to inspire, to encourage, to quiet the fears of others. It is a strong voice that has power that resides inside of each one of us. The key is to unlock that voice so that it escapes and expresses our authentic self, our true emotions, our true feelings, what we think, what we believe. We all have that capability. And in order to express it, you have to be willing to do that. You have to accept the challenge to do that, as you saw the previous three speakers do. Those words are in you. And sometimes there's something that holds us back. And it's that fear that resides inside that says, no, not you. Don't embarrass yourself. Don't subject yourself to laughter. Don't have people pointing at you and talking about you behind your back. And those inner thoughts are strong enough to cause you to retreat and take steps backwards from the gift that you were given to give to others. If you look at your voice as a gift, then gifts we give away to others. And that's what happens when we decide to stand up and express ourselves. And the process is not immediate. It's not overnight. It's steps. It's baby steps to get there. And you take that first step, and that's to accept the challenge to actually do something about it. You see, we're never as good a speaker as we can become. And we're never as bad of a speaker as we tend to try to believe about ourselves. We're much better than we think we are, but we can all get better. In the Toastmasters program that provides an opportunity for everyone to get better than they were. Everyone starts at point A. No matter how good of a speaker you are, you start at point A and then you take a step towards being better. And you take another step. And then you take another step and another step. And there's always another step to getting better. See, there's the growth process. And that first step is going to be uncomfortable. And what I try to express is that growth happens when you're uncomfortable, not trying to stay comfortable. So when you step outside of your comfort zone, that's where the growth is. I heard it said that there's no comfort in the growth zone, but there's no growth in the comfort zone. So what we do in Toastmasters, we expand your comfort zone. But you have to have a desire to say yes to that opportunity. And sometimes the yes is because you don't want to feel the way that you felt before. Sometimes a job requires that you do that. And sometimes it's some other personal reason that you decide to say yes to learning how to become a better speaker. I'm reminded of a person in the class that I took a few years ago. I'm always looking for ways to improve my public speaking ability, so I took this speech class at Miramar College because someone had taken the class and they said, there's a good instructor in that class. You should take it. And so I enrolled at Miramar College to take the class. And one of the students in the class was a young lady by the name of Tootie. And Tootie was an adult, worked for, let's see, I think it was the military. And she had a job where she worked in inventory, and she had to talk to people on the telephone. Tootie had no problems talking to people on the telephone. But the problem that she had was she stuttered. And she stuttered most on words beginning with an S. And every time she had to say the word, she would stumble on that word. But not on the telephone. She was fine when she didn't have to see the people that she was talking to. And that was a problem that she had ever since she was in elementary school. In that class, we had to deliver 3 speeches. Every time Tootie would get up to deliver her speech, it just seemed that every other word began with an S. And she would take longer than anyone else to deliver a 2-minute speech or a 3-minute speech. And you could see the other students in the class, oh, not again, or laughing at her for the first speech. And then the second speech. For the third speech, the teacher gave the assignment to talk about something that you're proud of, that you feel inspired by, or something that really affected you in your life. And when it came time for Tootie to stand up to that and talk to that crowd, she started off by saying, when I was in elementary school, I stuttered. I just couldn't say the words, and everyone in the class laughed at me. I felt so embarrassed. I didn't want to stand up and speak anymore. And she accepted the fact that people were going to laugh at her. And she took a vow when she was in the 3rd grade, never to speak again. And she went all the way through high school with the aid of a counselor to help her through, because she was not going to speak. And one day after she graduated and she started working for the military, she was talking to her two daughters. And she was telling them, well, you can grow up to be anything you want to be. You can do anything you want to do. You can have anything you... And she called herself, because she realized that what she was telling them they could do is what she should have been telling herself that she could do. And that's when she enrolled in that speaking class at Miramar College. And she delivered that speech. There was no stuttering. There was only her raw power and passion of delivering that gift that perhaps will help somebody else. And that's what we carry inside of us, the ability to deliver that gift. You see, when you start Toastmasters or you start any speaking class, the focus is on you. The focus is, how can I get better? How can I look better in front of my audience? It's merely about you. But something happens along the way when you start speaking on a regular basis, that there is a transformation that happens, where the focus is no longer on you. It's, how can I help you? What can I say that will inspire you, that will influence you, that will educate you, that can make you better? And that becomes a gift. One of the speakers talked about telling stories and telling personal stories, things that he has experienced, and relating that to the audience. That's where we learn. That's how we are able to help others. That's the gift. That's the tool that we have in our voice. I believe it was the Greek mathematician and engineer Archimedes who said, give me a fulcrum, give me a lever, and a fulcrum to put it on, and a lever long enough, and a place to stand. I can move the world. See, we as speakers have that lever, and that is our voice, the voice to speak. And we have a place to stand. And we can move the world. Whether it's one person at a time or it's many, we have the ability to do that. But we have to accept the challenge to take away that mask that hides that person that's inside of us, that wants to get out and wants to express himself or herself. If I were in your seat when I was growing up and had this opportunity to learn how to become a better speaker and a more effective speaker, back then, I would probably have said no. Why? Because of the fear of getting up and speaking would have frightened me away from this tremendous opportunity. But now that I know what I know, it's well worth the effort, the time, to have the ability to stand before others and express your own ideas. And not only is it going to help you just in that speech class, but it's something that carries over into other areas of your life. You'll find that you'll have more confidence. You'll have the courage to take risk. And you have the courage to stand up and speak to others. Now, in the intro, Deborah mentioned that I participated in the finals of the World Championship of Public Speaking. It's held once a year, and there's a competition where the person who participates in the finals has gone through 5 previous contests to get there. And these are speakers, 9 speakers from around the world compete. I had no inclinations of participating in that contest, but I was always trying to improve myself. And I made it to a point where I had settled for where I was good enough. And I was lucky enough to have a couple of friends of mine take me out to lunch, and they said, "Jim, when are you going to take your speaking to the next level?" And I said, "What do you mean? You've been giving the same types of speeches at the same level for quite a long time. It's time for you to step up your game." And I left that meeting, went back to the office, and in my inbox was a Toastmasters magazine. And I flipped through the pages, and it said, "Upcoming International Convention." And that was in 2001. And I heard those words, "When are you going to step up your speaking to the next level?" And I decided that I would attend that convention. That was the first convention that I had ever attended. And I went to it. And when I walked into the room where the contestants were going to be speaking, all you could see were chairs. There were over 2,000 chairs, and there was this huge stage, and there were cameras and lights, video cameras, lights, and monitors on the wall. And I just casually walked up in front of the stage and looked out just to see what it looked like to be a speaker and seeing that many people in the audience. And it so happened that the same person who said, "Take your speaking to the next level," was a judge for that contest. And she saw me and she asked, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just looking out to see what it feels like to speak to that many people." She said, "Get up on the stage." I said, "Excuse me?" "Get up on the stage, look out, visualize yourself being on this stage and speaking to these many people." I got up on the stage and I looked out and I visualized myself in the contest. And then I went and took my seat. And the 9 speakers came one by one and delivered these powerful, fantastic speeches. And I thought in my mind, wow, I can never do that. I went back to San Diego. That was in Anaheim. Went to my club later on, a few months later. I gave a speech, and one of the members says, "Jim, that's a world championship type speech. You should participate in the contest." I participated in the contest, won that contest, the next one, the next one, the next one, and ended up on the stage in San Antonio, Texas, speaking in that World Championship of Public Speaking, merely because I put fears to the side and I accepted the challenge, and I got a better image of myself as a speaker, and the results came. but that was about me. Let me end with just a story about the gift that we have to give. I was speaking at we call them districts, a district conference in Universal City up in the LA area to another district of Toastmasters. And it was at the John Lovett's Comedy Club, if anybody has ever been to Universal Studios. But I was on the stage, and the stage is about this high, and then the audience is out there. I delivered the speech, and I talked about a personal story about how my mother raised 4 kids by herself and went on to college and got her own education and graduate master's degree. And she worked part-time while she was going to school. And she did it because she wanted us to have a better life. And so as a high school graduate, she moved to a college town, worked, and put herself through college, and all 4 of us went and graduated from college. But one of the things that I said about her is she reminded me that our current circumstance does not have to be our future reality. You see, wherever we are today, we can change for the better. We can expect something better. After I concluded that speech, a lady came up to the edge of the stage, and she said, "Come here." And I walked over to her, and she was here, and so I bent down to talk to her. And she looked at me, and she said, "Jim, I want to thank you for delivering that speech, for saying that your current circumstance does not have to be your future reality." And I looked at her and I said, I'm glad you enjoyed the speech. And she reached up and she pulled off her wig, and her head was bald. And she said, "You see, I've been diagnosed with cancer. But that's not my future desire, not to have cancer. You've just confirmed and reassured me that my current circumstance does not have to be my future desire." See, that's the power of our voice. That's how we can make a difference. When I started Toastmasters, I never envisioned having that type of impact on an individual. So wherever you are right now, you may desire to do that, or you may not even consider that as a possibility, but it will happen. That is my wish for you, that you will take the challenge to become involved in a way that will allow you to strengthen the voice that you have, to release that voice that you have in order to make a difference in this world. You owe it to yourself. No, not really. You owe it to everyone you come into contact with. Will you do it? I hope you will say yes.